Hi, all Spec-Savers stores. I'm Jeline, and I was thinking that I'm going to record the Spec-Savers training because I find that some of the stores wants to go through it more than once. So now you have that opportunity. Okay, so the Spec-Savers training, the first couple of slides in this session, I'm not really going to go through thoroughly. I have sent all of you links to the course called Introduction to Retail Optics. And that is basically already covered in those recordings. If you don't know where to find it or you haven't received the links, you can go to YouTube. You can search BBGR South Africa. And then you can go to the videos and look for Introduction to Retail Optics. So there are 4 modules, and that's a very good course to start your optic training with. So for now, I'm going to focus on all the stuff that is not in that course, but I'll quickly scan through it. So don't worry too much. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. Okay. Good. Okay, so quickly, let's go through the basics of the Introduction to Retail Optics. If I'm too fast for you, you can redo it on the links that I've just mentioned. Distance vision is anything from 5 meters and further. That means that your patient will be able to see at distance with the same prescription, whether they're watching TV at 5 meters or driving. If we talk about near vision, it's anything that we can hold in our hands, like reading a book, your phone, your laptop, that is near vision. And intermediate vision is everything in between. So it's everything just beyond your arm's reach. That's the difference between distance, near, and intermediate vision. So let's quickly look at the types of lenses that we get. We get single vision lenses. That means the lens has the same prescription all over the lens. Doesn't matter where you look at it. And if you are presbyopic, meaning you are 45 years and older, the prescription is only for one distance. So it's either for near or for distance. If you are young, you will be able to use your single vision lenses for all distances because of your accommodation that is still active. So you will see older people that got these reading glasses, they put them on and then they have to lower them on their nose to read. So then you know they are wearing single vision reading glasses. And that can make one look a bit older. So that is why a progressive lens is the latest technology. So the distance portion of the prescription is at the top part of the lens, and then the prescription gradually increases until you reach your reading zone at the bottom. And that means that you can use these lenses for distance, intermediate, and near vision, one pair of lenses. And it makes you look a bit younger. On the left-hand side, you can see the people with the single vision readers, and on the right-hand side, your progressive wearers. So this is also where all the latest technology happens because no one wants to look old. Now, a progressive lens does not necessarily have to be from distance to near. It can also be from intermediate to near. So that means we can adjust the distance we want the focusing to happen in the top portion of the lens. This is an example of a lens that focuses at 1.5 meters in the distance portion and at 50 centimeters in the reading portion, with progression happening in between. Over here, you've got 2 pictures. On the left-hand side, the person is wearing a single vision reading glasses. So they can see on the tablet, but the person on the other side of the table is blurry. While the person with a progressive lens has clear vision at near and at the other side of the table. without having to lower their glasses over their nose. And so on and so on. You can adjust the focusing distance by changing the prescription of a progressive lens so that it accommodates the patient's needs, what they want to do with the glasses. The other pair of lenses that we get is bifocal lenses. That means that there is a segment in the lens that you can see at the bottom. The top part is for distance, and then that little half moon would be your reading area. I just want to make it clear that bifocal lenses does not have an intermediate visual zone. So that means it's not ideal for computer wear. We also used to make use of trifocals. They are not as popular anymore, but it does have a small segment there at the top of that half moon that is for intermediate vision. Let's have a look at the difference between stock and surface lenses. Stock lenses are lenses that a lab pre-manufacture and keep in their warehouse. That means the lab has the lenses in stock. They are usually powers that are being used a lot, and they are more economical because they can be made in big batches. Where surface lenses are lenses that we have to make specifically for a patient, maybe because the prescription is too high for a stock power, or all bifocals and all multifocals are surface lenses because they have to be made specific according to the patient's needs. So your typical SIL for a stock lens goes up to a -2. So if you have anything above that, it should be a surface lens. And your spherical power ranges normally for a SIL, for a stock lens is from a -8 to a +6, but it can be different from product to product. The idea is to keep the lenses that we use the most in stock. We don't want lenses left in a storeroom as stock products that's not really being used. It just gathers up dust. Okay, so if we look at the next thing, we look at edged lenses. Now, an edged lens means that the lens is not round anymore. It is now cut according to the shape of the frame. That is an edged lens, and we use edges to do that. I'm quickly going to go through frame parameters, but there is an in-depth video on the YouTube channel where you can have a look at how to take boxing measurements. It's important to take accurate boxing measurements, but I want you to look at this frame. If I draw a box around the lens, not the frame, but the lens, and I measure the horizontal distance of that box, then this is called my A measurement. If I measure the vertical height of that box, it's called the B measurement. And if I look at the distance between the two boxes, it's called my D measurement or my DBL. That is the measurements you take. And height measurement or seg height is the distance from the pupil center to the bottom of the box. And again, I want to encourage you to go look at the video of box measurements on YouTube, on the BBJR South Africa YouTube channel. It discusses this in depth. So I'm just quickly going to scroll through this. You can have a look at it on the YouTube channel. Okay. Then the other thing you need to know is PD. So PD stands for pupillary distance. It's the distance between the two pupils. Binocular PD is the distance from the center of the one pupil to the center of the other pupil. There's also an image indicating that. Now there's average PD measurements. A male normally has a PD measurements of 63 or above, and female might be 60 millimeters. And your near PD is always a bit smaller than your distance PD because your eyes converge or go in when you look at a near object. So that means that your pupils are closer together. The other thing that you want to be aware of is monocular PDs. Monocular PDs means it is the distance from the center of the pupil to the middle of the frame, the middle of the nose bridge of the frame. So we are not symmetrical. Some people or most people might have one eye sitting further away from the nose and one eye sitting closer to the nose. And therefore, monocular PDs is important so that we make sure we line up the optical centers with the center of the pupil of that patient. So that's an example of a monocular PD measurement from the center of the pupil to the center of the nose bridge of the frame. Now, there's some instruments that's very advanced that can take these measurements. You can use the mirror, you can use a pupillometer, or you can just use your PD ruler, whichever way your optometrist uses it, as long as you're comfortable with taking accurate measurements. Okay. Now, what are the key benefits of lenses that are of interest to the customer? First, let's compare plastic lenses with glass lenses. If we look at vision, durability, thin and comfort, UV protection, and safety, you can see that plastic lenses tick all the boxes, but not glass lenses. Glass lenses are heavy and they can be a danger to your patient if they break and they shatter. So we are not really improving technologies and optics on glass lenses, but rather on plastic lenses because they are safer, they are lightweight, and they include UV protection. Now, frames always comes in different shapes and sizes, and we need to know how to match which frame with which lens material. So the types of frames that we get is plastic frames, metal frames, nylon frames, and rimless frames. Plastic frames are very fashionable. It's a plastic frame that goes all around. They are very nice for hiding thickness of lenses, so that's a nice option. Metal also goes all around the lens, but you can see the thickness of the lens because they are a bit thinner. Then you get your nylon frames. Those are frames that has a frame at the bottom perhaps, but it has a groove in the lens at the bottom, and there's a nylon string that keeps that lens intact in the frame. Over there you can see it nicely. So the frame is at the top, and this groove over here has a nylon string that keeps the lens in the frame. This is also a very nice nylon frame that you have there. Now, it's important to choose the correct material for each frame type. For example, if you look at rimless lenses, we have to drill holes through those lenses there to attach the frame to the lens because the nose piece and the temples are the only thing that keeps this frame intact. And we cannot drill through any lens material. We need a specific index. So let's have a look at the different refractive indices that we get for plastic lenses. And then we have a look at, and we compare that with the frames that we have. So refractive index that we get in plastic lenses is 1.5, 1.56, 1.59, 1.6, 1.67, and 1.74. Now, it's important to note the higher the refractive index is, the thinner your lens is going to be. And then you will see the 1.59, 1.6, and 1.67. They are very strong, so you can use them for nylon and rimless frames. frames that does not have a frame all around to protect the lenses, or where you need to drill a hole in the lenses. So these indices are recommended for your nylon and rimless frames. Not your 1.5, not your 1.56, and also not your 1.74. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is glass lens refractive indices. Yes, you do get refractive indices in glass, but the one thing I want you to note from this is that a glass lens can never be put in a nylon or a rimless frame. It always needs to be a full plastic frame or a full metal frame. Okay, I'm quickly going to go through coatings. A hard coating is a coating that we put over the lenses to make it more scratch resistant. It will not make it scratch proof, but it will make it more scratch resistant. And that is a hard coating. An anti-reflex coating takes away glare. So if you look at this picture, then there is light coming from the front of this woman's glasses, and it gets reflected in the lenses. And that's actually not nice for the person wearing the glasses, because they are aware of that reflection. And an anti-reflex coating takes that reflection away. And a lot of the reflections actually comes from the back of our lens and gets reflected in the eyes. And that's not very, very nice, especially if it is UV that gets reflected. So if you put an anti-reflex coating on, then the light that comes from the front will not reflect on the lens surface, but will pass through the lens surface, causing the eye to get a clearer image. So it is like taking away the background noise and just concentrating on the image that you are seeing. This is someone that has an anti-reflex coating on his left lens, but not on the right lens. So you can see there's a reflection happening on that one lens, and that's without the anti-reflex coating. And the lens that has the anti-reflex coating has no reflections. I hope this makes sense to you. There's another example on the left-hand side. The patient does not have an anti-reflex coating. On the right-hand side, she does. Now, all anti-reflex coating has, we call it a bloom. So it's a color. The coating has a bit of a color. It's not a tint. It just has a bit of a bloom. And it's usually greenish or bluish, depending on what coating it is. For example, this patient is wearing an anti-reflex coating, and you can see a slight greenish bloom there on the anti-reflex coating. This one does not have an anti-reflex coating at all. And there's another example of someone that has one and someone that does not. This one does not have one. And if you look at your cell phone, even the camera on your cell phone has an anti-reflex coating. So it gets implemented in a lot of devices. Now, all anti-reflex coatings are made out of different layers, and each layer has a unique characteristic. So let's have a look at your Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating. The product characteristics of that is that it's providing UV protection from the front as well as the back. Backside UV reflection is eliminated by the Crizal coating, and the front UV transmission is cut by the lens material. So the benefits of this Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating is that it is hard, so it does not scratch that easily. It takes away the reflections. It's easier to clean because it is smudge resistant. Dust do not stick on it, so it gives you increased transparency. And it is also hydrophobic, which means that water just runs off it. So this sounds very ideal. Just make sure your patients know exactly how to clean their anti-reflex coatings with their anti-reflex cloths that you should provide them. And now, in addition to this, Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating also has the anti-reflex efficiency broad spectrum technology. So this means that it's an extra layer of coating at the back, making this more durable and also gives it more UV protection. So over here, you can see all the layers that you have of an anti-reflex coating, and each layer gets added individually to give you the final product in the end. I'm gonna show you some of our Essilor anti-reflex coatings as well. If you do not want to dispense the Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating to a patient. And the first one we're going to look at is Crizal Sapphire. Crizal Sapphire is known to be the most invisible anti-reflex coating in the world. And the reason for that is that it has Crizal Sapphire generation of Crizal coating that reduces reflection of light coming from everywhere. So if you, for example, have a person sitting here and there is light shining from anywhere, from the front, from the sides, there will not be any reflections coming on the lens. So it has a 360-degree anti-reflection property, not just a 15-degree anti-reflection property as most anti-reflex coatings. If I talk about that degree, I want you to look at this. I'm going to put my pair of glasses here. You've got light coming in. If it comes from the front, any anti-reflex coating will take that glare away. If it goes up to 15 degrees, any anti-reflex coating will take that away. But anything light coming from these other angles, not all anti-reflex coatings will take that away. But Crizal Sapphire will do that because it's got the 360-degree multi-angular technology. The next Essilor coating I'm going to be talking about is called Crizal Preventia. Now, this is your blue control coating that we use in Essilor. That's our premium blue control coating, if I can't say it like that. If you look at the spectrum, you will see that you get UV on the left-hand side, and then it goes into blue-purple light, blue turquoise light, and then the rest of the visible spectrum. Now, the harmful part is the UV and the blue purple. We need the blue turquoise because it helps us with our circadian rhythms, keeps us awake when we need to be awake, gets us to sleep when we need to sleep. But this blue purple wavelength is not good for our eyes. So Crizal Preventia uses light scan technology to filter out the correct amount of harmful blue-purple light in order for us not to get any pathology or any visual strain from that wavelength. So this will be the coating of choice if you've got a patient that wants the best anti-reflex coating but helps with blue protection. Okay, the next coating I'm going to discuss is Crizal Drive. Now, no one likes to drive at night because of all the glare. So there's a lot of studies that went into Crizal Drive to optimize the vision at night. And we can talk about rods and cones on the retina and all the technical stuff about it. But I want you to know that Crizal Preventia gives you 90% less reflection on your lenses than a lens without it. So it's definitely improving your vision with night driving. And you will also see it's got a bit of a pinkish and also a yellowish bloom on the anti-reflex coating, and that's because we are all maximizing that wavelength on the rods and cones on your retina. Okay, We're quickly going to look at UV. We all know that UV is very bad for our eyes. It can cause UV keratitis. It can cause cataracts. It can cause your eyes to look old because you get wrinkles. So we want to protect the eyes from UV. And therefore, it's very important to have UV protection on your lenses. Some of the UV that we do get in our eyes are being reflected from the back of our lenses, about 50% of that. And that's why it is important to actually put an anti-reflex coating on to take that reflection away and to give you the UV protection. Now, we tend to think that we only need to protect our eyes when the sun is shining bright, but that is not the case. You need UV protection in the shade as well when you least expect it. Now, how can we protect our eyes against UV? Let's have a look at photochromatic lenses. The Spec-Savers Climate Eyes option is a lens that goes darker in the sun and light inside, and it gets activated by UV. So that means the moment UV reaches the lens will go dark, and if the UV gets taken away, the lens will get clear again. That is why indoor lighting like this will not make the lenses darker because it does not contain UV. If you have a cloudy day, your lenses might not go very dark because there's lower UV radiation. And in bright sunlight, it will be very dark because there's a lot of UV. So your lenses adapt to your environment constantly. Climate Eyes is something that you can use for indoor and outdoor use. So you can put it on your glasses, whether it's only for, it does not necessarily have to be glasses that you only wear outside. You can also wear it inside. Okay, and then our top of the range photochromatic tint is called Transitions 8. We are now at Transitions Generations 8. So this one is quick to go dark, extremely quick to go dark. And the best improvement is that it is very quick to go light again. A lot of patients might come in saying, listen, I don't want a photochromatic tint because when I walk into a building, the light is, the color is just not going clear quickly enough. And that is where Transitions Generation 8 has made the biggest improvement. You get it in gray, graphite green, and brown. You can wear it indoors and outdoors, and it has built-in blue control in the matrix of the lens as well. So you do not necessarily have to add the Preventia over the Transitions 8. You can choose any other anti-reflective coating as well. Then a nice thing is that we also have the Transitions 8 style colors available. Unfortunately, this is only available in single vision surface lenses, but it gives the younger generation a bit more color to choose from. And they are available in sapphire, emerald, amethyst, and amber. So that is targeting your younger patient market. Then we get sun tints. Now, sun tints is basically prescription sunglasses. I don't know how anyone can survive without prescription sunglasses. I drive with mine because a photochromatic tint does not always go dark enough in the car. So prescription sunglasses is a main thing. I know of your summer promo and everything, and we use sun tints to tint those lenses. Now, all plastic lenses can be tinted, especially your 1.5, 1.59, 1.6, and 1.67 lenses indexes. Your 174 does not always tint that nicely, but glass lenses, we do not tint glass lenses. It's a process that not many labs do. So your sun tints will be on plastic lenses. And you get all different densities and shades and colors. And which the important part here is to note that for example, if you look at a gradient tint, it's darker at the top and lighter at the bottom, but it has the same UV protection all around. So it's not that it has more UV protection at the top than at the bottom, but it does cut out more glare at the top than at the bottom. Okay, so if you talk about a 75% gray tint, then it means it cuts out 75% of the light reaching the eye. If you talk about a 25% brown tint, then it means obviously it's brown and it cuts out 25% of the light reaching the eye. Okay. So sun tints, they are very fun and fashionable in sunglasses. Let's have a look at polarized lenses. So polarized lenses means they cut out glare from a 180-degree surface. So you are going to use them when you are fishing, when there's water, when there's snow, when there's concrete, when there's reflections on windscreens. So that's when it's really going to make a difference to you, because it cuts out that glare that happens on a 180-degree surface. That makes you able to see through the water instead of looking at the reflection on the water. That's the difference. So over here on the left-hand side is an image with no polarization, and on the right-hand side, the lenses are polarized. Polarization is not available in gradient tints or anything like that. Polarization is available in gray, brown, and green. And there's only one darkness. You can't say you want to make it lighter or darker. The polarization happens with the color. Okay. Now, this is actually the place where I want to spend time with you on, and that is on your lenses, the Spec-Saver lens range that we have. So the first lens we're going to discuss is the Essilor Incredible Progressive. That is your go-to multifocal in Spec-Savers. So let's look at the key benefits of that lens. It has a wider field of vision in your distance section. It has less distortion on the reading zone and the intermediate zone. It's easy to adapt to, and it's a balanced design with less aberration. So this gives benefits to your patient. So your patient's benefits is that he or she gets a digitally surfaced technology design, which is your latest technology. He gets optimized visual acuity, that is if your prescription is correct. He gets reduced peripheral distortion with wider fields of vision, easy adaptation, and more visual comfort. Now, I just want to remind you that the Incredible Progressive lens, this is a multifocal used for all distances, distant, intermediate, and near. However, I want you to note that no multifocal, it doesn't matter how good the lens is made for people to wear it in front of the computer the whole day. It is unnatural to sit like this the whole day and work on your computer. And therefore, we've got other designs that I will discuss with you later. So it's important to tell your patient, yes, it is a multifocal. You can use it for all distances, but it might not be comfortable to wear the whole day in front of a computer. Now, what is the benefits for the practice for using this Essilor Incredible Progressive? The main purpose is that you get it at a special price. So you get a great price on this product. You know that it is a proven design. It's a good design. Your patient will adapt to it easily. It has wider fields of vision. and you can prescribe it with comfort. Now, I know this sounds almost too good to be true, but I want to urge you as an optometrist as well, just to make knowledgeable decisions. If your patient has been on a top of the range multifocal, he might not be completely satisfied being put on the incredible progressive lens, but most of your other people that has not been used to the top of the designs will adapt very easily to this lens. So let's have a look at the ranges. You get it in 1.5 index, 1.59, and 1.6. The power ranges for those indices is from +6 to -8 with a maximum still of -4. And if you go to a higher prescription, you have to go to a 1.67 index. Okay. You get a regular corridor and a short corridor. And the add is from a +1 to a +3. Your minimum fitting height for a regular is 18 millimeter, and for a short is 15 millimeter. However, I would suggest put a regular rather on a 20 millimeter and a short on a 17 or a 16 millimeter, just to make sure the entire reading portion cuts out. You get it in white, Climate Eyes Gray, or Transitions Gen 8. I just want you to note the indices. The white you can get in all indices. The Climate Eyes is for 1.5 and 1.59 indices, and Transitions 8 is for 1.6 and 1.67 index. Okay. Now, the incredible progressive lens always works better with an anti-reflex coating. So we are pleased to announce the launch of Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating and eye relief. So Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating is the one you will prescribe for everyday wear, and eye relief is the one that you will prescribe for blue control, for your patients that in front of digital screens the whole day. Both of these have excellent quality, and they have a 2-year guarantee against cracks or peeling. So if that happens to the anti-reflex coating, please send it into the lab so that they can analyze the lenses and replace it for you at no charge. Okay. Now remember, I said no person is made to use a multifocal in front of the computer the whole day. Now, this is where the incredible office comes in. So it is an office lens taking into account ergonomical and visual needs, meaning that you want to have your distance portion at the top of the lens, but the distance portion must be actually computer length, or maybe the patient wants it to be on the other side of a table or in a boardroom. So there's less progression happening in the lens because we are covering a smaller depth of field. It is a soft design, and the advanced intermediate and near lens will give you more comfortable vision doing your near work for prolonged periods of time. So this is actually a lens for all emmetropes or presbyopes, a presbyope being someone with an AD, people requiring a solution for both near and intermediate vision, and more efficient than single vision reading lenses because they don't have to take it off to see the person on the other side of the desk. So it gives you depth of vision by increasing your near vision all around you. So what is the benefits to the patient? The patient will get a wider intermediate and near fields. I want you to remember this lens does not have a distance visual zone. So it's not for driving or for looking far. It's looking for intermediate to near. Okay, so that's why he gets a wider intermediate and near vision, because we take out the distance portion. It's easy to adapt to, and it has less aberrations. If you look at the technical features, it is not a progressive lens, for example, a full progressive lens with distance, intermediate, and near. It is not for distance vision, but it is better than a single vision reading glasses. Less and less people are using single vision lenses. They're actually all moving towards some or the other progressive. So how do you order this? You order your office lenses with your near prescription and your near PD. You can choose between two regressions, depending on how far you want your patient to be able to see with it. You can choose between a 0.8 or a 1.3 diopter regression. Now, the 0.8 will give you a shorter distance to have clear vision in, and the 1.3, with the 1.3, you'll be able to see further, a bit further. You use monocular near PD measurements, and it gets fitted on the lower lid. Now, it is important that your minimum B size, remember the box measurements, your B size is from the top of the lens to the bottom of the lens, must be 30 millimeters. It's important to have big lenses for office lenses, because you sit like this and you look up and you don't want to look over your glasses. And the way that you inspect or verify the lenses once it gets to the practice is to measure it on the vert on the near reference point. Okay, you get it in 1.5 and 1.6. The ranges is from a -6 to a +5 up to a -4 sil. And the coatings that you get it in is your Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating or your Crizal Forte UV. It's important to do pre-cal, so you have to know your box measurements, and there is prism options available in this lens. And last but not least, let's discuss the incredible accommodative support lens. Now, these days you get all ages of people, especially your younger group, coming in with symptoms of stinging of their eyes. They feel tired, they get headaches, they have blurred vision, and they have been putting a lot of strain on their visual system, and their visual system cannot handle this. So for non-presbyopic patients, that means it's your younger patients suffering from these symptoms of visual fatigue, your emerging presbyopes, that means it's your early presbyopes that have a very low AD, or individuals who use near vision for extended periods of time, like reading a lot, texting, paperwork, then you will be prescribing the SLR Incredible Flexi. That is your accommodative support lens. It has an aspheric design. It is an advanced single vision, and it gives you an AD of a +0.6 diopters in the lower portion of the lens. So it assists the accommodation system with 0.6 diopters to get more comfortable near vision for longer periods of time. So you use it by using the full distance prescription, and then you give the fitting height, which is from the pupil center to the bottom of the box, and you specify your monocular PDs. Remember, we went through this earlier, so you'll know where to get those. So it's pupil center, monocular PDs, distance prescription. You dot the centers of the pupil. Now, the minimum fitting height for the Incredible Flexi is 13 millimeters. So I would say actually go 15 millimeters, just to make sure he gets the whole 0.6 diopters in the AD. The minimum B measurements, meaning the vertical measurement of the lens, needs to be 23 millimeters or bigger. And 10 millimeters of that lens actually needs to be above the pupil so that you have adequate distance vision. It is available in 1.5 and 1.59 index. Your prescription range is from a -6 to a +6 with a maximum of 4 sil. You can get it with a Spec-Savers anti-reflex coating. Same tints possible as on standard single vision 1.5. So that means you can make it into sunglasses if they want it. And if you want a rimless frame, then a 1.59 index is always recommended. You need to do pre-calculations, meaning you need to measure your box measurements. And yes, you do have prism options available. Okay, so that is a mouthful from my side, but I hope that this helped you with your Spec-Savers products. And as always, if you have any questions, you can contact me on 076 347 4758, or you can email me at fundenhj@bbgr.co.za. I hope you have enjoyed this training session. Have a good day.